So my name is TelLab Rafferty, and I'm delighted to invite a number of industry experts here today, this morning from the marine sector, who will be talking about, I suppose, the future of the Irish marine sector in Ireland. Today's event is titled An Ocean of Opportunity, and during the event today, they will showcase the various supports, funding that's on offer, and also just in terms of if you want to dip into this industry, put your toe into the industry, they will be able to give you some kind of guidance, and they will be able to signpost you and also offer you some one-to-one direct supports. So we have a number of speakers this morning from a number of different sectors. We have BIM, Board Isiwara, we have Hatch, we have Nua Namara, and we have the marine industry. So over the course of the event, they will talk about a number of different areas. So Nua Namara will speak first, and they will give an introduction to the marine sector and how they can support you. After that, then we'll have BIM, and they will basically talk about the various supports on offer and I suppose what the blue future looks like. Following them, we'll have Niall O'Reilly. He'll speak from Hatch, and Hatch will talk about, they will give you some, I suppose, case studies of some innovators and give you some kind of a brief overview of innovation within the marine sector in Ireland. And then finally, we have Jamie, and Jamie will talk about how the Marine Institute supports the sector overall. So by the end of the event, you should know basically, you'll get a good understanding of the marine sector. You'll know what the opportunities are, including career opportunities. If there's any students listening or people want to cross career into this sector, because it is a very fast moving and is starting to accelerate the development of the sector. And also you discover some of the innovative businesses and entrepreneurs who had like a successful track record within the actual sector itself and how they got their startups up and running. So just to talk a little bit about some of the speakers, we have from Nua Namara, we have Cliona Griffin, and Cliona has a background in food science, and she's a business development manager in Nua Namara. So basically, Nua Namara is kind of a one-stop shop if you're thinking of getting into this space, or you're an existing SME in the space and you want to basically need some signposting. They're really, I suppose, your first point of call. And Cliona, as business development manager there, she helps early stage companies and startups to develop their business within this sector itself. So after Cliona, then we have from BIM, we have Damien Toner. And I have a little bio here on Damien that Damien gave me this morning just before the event started. So Damien himself, he's basically the development and innovation executive for the Irish Seafood Development Agency, which is BIM. He's worked in the shellfish and the finfish sectors, and he has an MSc in agri-innovation from NUIG, and he also has a degree in aquatic science. And Damien, he's an elected board member of the European Aquaculture Society. So he'll talk about some of the supports and training and maybe some funding that BIM can offer, and he'll talk about that shortly after Cliona. And then coming up after that, then we have Niall O'Reilly. Niall works for Hatch, and Hatch is, I suppose, they really specialize within the aquaculture and the alternative seafood innovation space. And they offer a number of different types of supports. They're a VC in the sense that they invest in some of the companies that go onto their accelerator program. And also they can give a lot of business advisory and some business development supports. So if you have an early stage startup and you're looking to scale the business and you're in that space within their catchment area, Niall will be a good person to talk to. And then after Niall, we have Jamie. And Jamie is a PhD student. Well, he's actually a postdoc now, I should say. So congratulations, Dr. Jamie. He did his PhD within the Freshwater and Marine and Freshwater Research Centre here in GMIT. He also has a master's degree in marine biology from UCC, and currently he's working to see how they can produce larger Atlantic salmon smolt in Ireland. So that's the current research project he's on, but he has a very diverse, I suppose, research background within the field, and he's been working there for the last 10 years. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to call up the first speaker, which is Cliona from Nua Namara, and she's going to talk about Nua Namara and what the different supports that are there available there. And also, due to the time constraints that we have this morning, what we will do is after each speaker, they'll just invite up the next speaker. And hopefully at the very end of the actual session, if we have time and if there's any questions and answers that you want to put into, there's a Q&A option on your screen there. If you have any questions, you can just enter them into the Q&A, and we'll hope to, if we have time permitting, we'll try and address those questions, as many as we can. And if not, what we'll do is we'll gather up all the questions, and one of the speakers or myself will come back and we'll try and answer those questions for you. So I hope you enjoyed the event this morning. Sit back. It's a pretty cold day out there this morning, so I hope you have a nice mug of tea or coffee and enjoy the event. So, Cliona, I'd like to welcome you to the podium. Thank you.
Great, TelLab. So my name is Cliona Griffin, as TelLab mentioned. So I suppose when Niall and I had a preliminary meeting, looking at what will we do to inform universities in the HEI sectors in Ireland about the marine sector, and the GMIT, I hope, was one of the first spots on our list. So thank you, TelLab, for facilitating this. So I will talk to you today briefly about the marine sector and give you a bit of an overview as to what is involved in the Irish sector and touch on the global context, and then introduce you to Nua Namara. So the marine sector is quite diverse, and it can be split into various other industries. So seafood is one, where it's fisheries, which is wild fisheries, and aquaculture, which can be described as the farming of seaweed, fish, and shellfish, and again seafood processing as well. There's maritime and coastal engineering and construction, ports and shipping, advanced ocean technology, which can include aquatechnology, which Niall and Damien will touch on a bit further. We also have marine and coastal tourism recreation, energy from the ocean, which can include wind energy, wave energy, tidal energy as well. And finally, blue biotechnology, which turns aquatic biomass into food, feed, nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals, cosmetic, energy, packaging, clothes, and so much more. So looking at the importance of the Irish marine industry, we have, I suppose, what is considered a developed industry, which is the marine aquaculture, as well as seafood processing. Two emerging industries, which would be advanced marine technology and marine biotechnology as well. As you can see here, they have a huge importance for the Irish economy. And I suppose to recap that, the direct impact of all of these industries has 34,000 employees, over 6 billion in turnover, and 1.16 GDP. So of huge importance to the Irish economy. Looking at the global context, the demand for aquaculture really has increased since 1990. And really, if we're looking to develop this industry and I suppose develop the sector here in Ireland, we need to look at aquatechnology and more circular production processes to ensure we sustainably develop the industry and meet the demands for food security and an increased population. Looking at, I suppose, the countries mainly involved in aquaculture, it's been primarily dominated by Asia, with actors such as Norway and some countries in South America as well. Again, I mentioned blue biotechnology, and looking towards the future, Norway have established a cluster in northern Norway looking at blue biotechnology, which showcases, I suppose, what the future holds for the aquaculture industry and related industries. So I mentioned earlier, I am the Business Development Manager of Nua Namara, and looking at who are we? We're a designated activity company, which is a fully owned subsidiary of Utilise na Gaeltachta, and we have two key partners, which are GMIT and NUI Galway, and we have the support of our advisory members, which are BIM and Enterprise Ireland. So what we aim to do is bridge the gap between research, innovation, industry through commercialization. I guess how we aim to do that is we aim to support early stage companies, researchers, spin-outs, entrepreneurs that want to get involved in the marine sector. So how we aim to do that is through the first tranche of support, which would be the soft supports, looking at mentoring, networking, training development programs, business development programs, and really offering that aid to researchers through our early stage companies through the commercialization process. Our second tranche of support would be facilities, so we can link you with utilise na Gaeltachta, who have a network of digital hubs offering office spaces and hot desks, as well as larger scale commercial properties too. A key important link here is the link with GMIT and NUI Galway in terms of their research facilities. We have the Marine Freshwater Research Facility here in GMIT, which members can access through us, and we'll direct you to GMIT in terms of further research projects or our partnerships in terms of IP as well. And I suppose the final piece in the puzzle is looking at the funding element. We will link you with utilise na Gaeltachta, Enterprise Ireland or BIM for primary production. And we're trying to establish a network of VC funds such as Hatch to ensure that the companies that are supported by Nua na Mara understand the opportunities and the funding available to them and ensure that they're investor ready from quite an early stage as well. Looking at the industries that we support, I mentioned a few of the different sectors within the marine, and we focus primarily on marine technology, which can be anywhere from sensors to aquaculture technologies or Aquatech, pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals derived from marine sources, aquaculture, and value added, so that could be functional foods. So our colleagues in the Iceland Ocean Cluster developed this lovely diagram, which kind of gives you a bit of information as to what the blue bio industry is, and I suppose the companies that we're looking to support. So traditionally, fish was normally filleted and the waste would either go to landfill or potentially fish meal. However, they have, after a lot of R&D, they have come up, well, the industry in general have come up with various value added streams to this. So we can see that, you know, fish can now be used for fish leather, that we can extract calcium from the bones of fish, looking at collagen from fish as well, that we're having zero waste from traditional processes that would have normal waste. Again, the sister cluster in Long Island Ocean Sound came up with the same thing for the kelp. So normally the seaweed that is washed ashore after a storm, the smelly stuff, would be also dried normally, but we're looking at various different other value streams. So anything from clothing, looking at biochar, seaweed supplements, creating, I suppose, ingredients for cosmetics, and of course looking at the bioplastic side of things, so reducing the issue in terms of plastic pollution and coming up with plastics that are biodegradable and sustainable and compostable. So if I haven't convinced you yet of the interesting marine companies and I suppose areas within the marine sector, this is just another one to add to it. So Nua na Mara and utilise na Gaeltachta have a cluster of marine companies already in operation, and one of them is involved in the biotech or the med device industry, which is Zone Biomedical. These guys have come up with a fantastic bone graft substitute from marine coral that they grow at their facility. So it's 100% sustainable and really offers, I suppose, patients another substitute or offering to your traditional medical device. And this is a fantastic showcase of what can happen from the marine sector. So looking at Nua na Mara and looking towards the future, we really believe the future is bright for Nua na Mara. Nua na Mara is part of Park na Mara, a dedicated marine business park with specialised marine facilities. So the proposed park is set on 18 acres of land and will have, I suppose, clustering of established companies on the park. There will be various different facilities on the park, such as aquaponics, value-added seaweed centre, a UV filtration system, and various other activities. And I suppose the key importance here for Nua na Mara, looking towards the future, we will have a dedicated state-of-the-art facility on this low-carbon park. And I suppose the area of differentiation here is we can draw from the experienced companies that will be located on the park to give the members of Nua na Mara more insight, access to networks, potential new markets. So currently that is navigating through the planning process at the moment and is with On Board Planola, but New in the Mara is here at the moment. But looking towards what will be there is training and development areas, prototyping, workspaces, demo areas, meeting rooms and testing facilities as well. So really, to recap, New in the Mara is here, ready and open to help and to support businesses in the marine sector along their journey, showcasing the innovation in the blue sector and connecting research to entrepreneurs and ensuring that everybody understands what's happening in the marine sector. And we will hopefully deliver jobs, building capabilities, leveraging IP and creating new companies. And as TelLab mentioned, our remit, I guess, is in the Gaeltacht area. And although we physically support companies in the Gaeltacht area, we want you to consider us as the one-stop shop, and we work with the other relevant agencies and institutes here in Ireland, and we'll redirect you to the relevant supports that you need. So Gurmagav, and make sure that you follow us on LinkedIn and also pop to our website to sign up to our mailing list to hear of all of the exciting events that we have upcoming and some activity there. So I think now, Damien is up next from Bord Ski Wire. So Damien, do you want to take over? Gurmagav.
Thank you, Cliona, for a really good overview of the seafood sector. I think it's important to acknowledge the work that Utilise is doing in this area, and BIM, as the State Development Agency for Seafood, is committed to working really closely with Utilise as we go forward. We often hear some negative stories about the seafood sector in terms of the effect of Brexit and you know, the challenges that the fishing community in particular face. But I think it's important to acknowledge the ambitious program that both Utilise and BIM have for the sector and the opportunities that are out there globally. So my talk is really going to focus on one of those emerging sectors, which is the Aquatech sector. And as TelLab alluded to, BIM provides a wide range of services to the seafood industry, technical advice, business advice and funding. I'd certainly encourage anybody that would like to access funding to visit our webpage, where we give details of all the grants that are available. The new operation program will be launched shortly this year, and that will certainly have an opportunity to for a wide variety of grants. So please don't hesitate to get in contact with us if you have any queries regarding that. So I'm going to talk a bit about the Irish aquatech landscape. This is a sector that in recent years we've done an enormous amount of work in trying to support, particularly with Utilise, as I said, and also Hatch. And really what we're talking about in relation to this is the products and services that are required in aquaculture, and helping companies to develop these products and services to come up with solutions for the challenges that the industry faces, not only in Ireland, but globally. In recent years, we've seen a lot of growth in specific areas, particularly in areas such as nutrition, sensor technology, and systems. And really, my talk today is particularly focused at the entrepreneurs out there at this attending this webinar, and also students, just to give you a broader sense of what's happening within the global sector and the opportunities that there are for engineers, for IT specialists, software people, biochemists. A wide variety of skill sets are required within the seafood sector globally. And we think there's a fantastic opportunity for Ireland in particular to avail of this. So this is just a kind of a broad landscape map of some of the companies that are globally are involved in what we call the aquatech sector. And they cover a wide variety of sectors. So you've companies involved in fish health and diagnostics, in IoT platforms, environmental and water quality, farm management software, certification, fish farm equipment, obviously, system designs, a wide variety. And this is just a kind of snapshot of some of the companies that are involved globally. And what's interesting for us is if we delve down a bit deeper, we see that a lot of these companies are actually Irish-based companies. So you have companies like Biomarine Ingredients Ireland, which is based in Killybegs, which is looking at development of nutraceuticals from fish waste. TechWorks Marine, which is based in Dublin, doing a lot of really cutting-edge marine engineering work. Identigen, which is recently bought over by MSD, which looks at the genetics in farm salmon. Aqualicense, another company that's based in Ireland, which is helping companies around the world with the development of licensing, particularly around renewable energy and aquaculture. So it's really quite a broad sector. And that's what we call the Irish Aquatech landscape. And again, we're only capturing some of the companies. And I just wanted to give you an insight into what some of these companies are doing at the moment, so you get a sense of the kind of range of activities that are happening. So first company I'm going to talk about is TelLab. They're based down in Carlow. They have around 70 employees. And what TelLab's background is really in water quality. So they initially were set up, I think, back in the 1980s, and they would have looked at environmental water quality monitoring. We recently developed what they call the Aquamonitrix system, which monitors nitrite and nitrate in environmental systems. Now, you might think that that's a relatively easy thing to do. It's been done for years. People use photometric kits, but it's really a gap in the market where we don't see enough real-time sensoring of environmental data. So TelLabs have managed to manufacture this kit. They've deployed it in RAS systems around the world, and it's proving very successful, particularly at monitoring the health of biofilter systems. So it's a fantastic example of an Irish company using cutting-edge technology and focused very much on the global market. And that's one of the points I really want to get across this morning, is that the opportunities for the Irish sector are global. So companies like TelLab are dealing with companies in Norway, Asia, South America, etc. So it really is a fantastic opportunity to develop export sales. And with companies like TelLab as well, it's not limited to one product. They have a product development portfolio where they're looking at the development of numerous products. So these are the type of companies we're trying to support. Again, TelLab is the kind of company that needs engineers, scientists, people with specific skill sets to work on their products. Another company set up by Brian Quinn from Dundalk, which is my neck of the country. So Brian has set up Wellfish Diagnostics. Again, trying to improve fish health globally. So most fish health at the moment is monitored by histology. So you take a sample from the fish, it might take a week or two to get lab results back. What Wellfish have done is developed cutting-edge blood sampling. So they sample blood from the fish, which is non-lethal, and they can build up a health profile of the population. And that's really of huge advantage to farmers as they monitor the health of the fish and the welfare of the fish, which is really important in aquaculture. So again, Wellfish Diagnostics, it's an early stage company. It's employing people at the moment, people like biochemists, trying to develop quick turnaround, so it gives the farmer a much more informed opinion of what's happening. So a really, really impressive company as well, Wellfish Diagnostics. All of these companies' development is being supported by the government. This is the Food Vision document for 2030, which covers the development of sustainable food within Ireland. And a key sector there you see highlighted is the ambition to attract global investment in aquaculture technology and promote Ireland as a knowledge base for aquaculture technology and research to attract investment on our knowledge base. So really what that is saying is that in Ireland, we want to become world leaders in aquaculture technology. We want to not only develop indigenous companies here, but attract companies from outside to come and be based here in Ireland, based in facilities like here in GMIT and the iHubs, you know, and facilities that UDROS has around the country as well, the IDA and EI. So it's really important that we work collectively to try and highlight the advantages that Ireland has for these companies. We're a country which is generally easy to get to from east to west, north to south, surrounded by the sea. We have freshwater operations as well. It's a perfect base for companies to base themselves and develop their technology. And really, that's what we want to try and highlight through this body of work. If we were to set up a wish list of what we'd like companies to be working on or students to be working on at the moment, I think High on that list would be phytoplankton and zooplankton warning systems. We've seen from global warming, if any of you are sea swimmers, you'll notice the prevalence of jellyfish in the last few years. So we're seeing more and more zooplankton and phytoplankton. And really what we'd like to see developed is early warning systems in place in the marine environment. There's also a need for more accurate behavioral response feeding systems, fish welfare systems, organic biofouling. 99% of salmon production in Ireland, for example, is organically certified, so there's a real need for organic biofoulings. Accurate larval counters. So you can see there's lots of gaps in the market where companies could be developing technology and services to address these needs. So that's it from me. I'm going to hand you over to Niall O'Reilly from Hatch, who works with us on the Aquatech. Hatch being a fantastic supporter of the program, and Niall's going to give you an overview of their activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Damien. So my name is Niall O'Reilly, and I am the Ireland Community Manager at Hatch. So I'm going to speak to you today a bit about the BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio that we are running with BIM in July. So I'm just going to give a quick background on Hatch, what we do as a business, and then I'll get into the studio that's taken place this summer. So Hatch was formed in 2017 as an Irish company by Wayne Murphy, Carson Crome and George Banach, with the goal to revolutionise the way we produce seafood through responsible investment and technological development. Since the inception in 2017, we have gone on to invest in 35 companies. We have set up 3 physical locations in Norway, Singapore and Hawaii, and we have 12 full-time members spread across the globe. So the vision of Hatch is to catalyse farmed and alternative seafood innovation through responsible investment, technological development, expertise and insights supported by a strong global committed community. So just a quick look at the team. So we have a interdisciplinary team spread across the world with a range of skill sets from fund management, consultancy, legal and aquaculture expertise. So Hatch can be broken down into 3 separate business units. The first unit is the Innovation Services, which is a global consultancy wing of the business, where we offer consultancy for industry, for investors and governments around the world. And we do this for governments by running the Innovation Studio program. So here in Ireland, with BIM, we'll be running the BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio. So the second business unit is the fund. So we actively raise funds to invest in early stage aquaculture and aquatech technologies. So the first fund closed at $8.4 million, and we're on track to raise the second fund of $75 million for a round of investing in 2023. So we do the majority of, not all, but the majority of our investment to the final business unit, which is our accelerator programs. So what the accelerator program is, in return to an equity stake in your company, we offer an investment and we put those companies through an intensive 15-week program where we bring in world-leading experts to develop your business and validate your technology and put your business into the best possible chance of success and a return of the investment to Hatch. So that brings me on to the BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio. So like the accelerator program, we follow the same model, but with some differences. So it's completely, so instead of an equity stake, it's completely paid for by BIM through the European Maritime Fisheries and Aquaculture Fund. So it's completely free and no equity to join. And instead of 15 weeks, it's spread over the month of July in part-time, 2 to 3 days a week. It will take place in Dublin, Kerry, and visits to the aquaculture cluster in Bergen in Norway. We will be targeting, so I would say 70% of the participants that come on to the BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio would be startups in their first few years of business. But we also see a lot, maybe 20% of researchers who they have not got a company, but they have a good piece of research that they're looking to commercialize and spin out into a business. And then maybe the final 10% is existing companies that are looking to explore new opportunities in the aquatech space. So why come on the BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio? You will, on the program, you will develop your product, work with our world-leading experts to develop strategy and business skills, your support network and your pitching skills. Our experts and a Hatch team will help you validate your technology, your scientific principles, your market approach, and best product to market fit. And above all, you'll learn how to navigate the global aquaculture industry, present yourself and your idea, and have the opportunity and the exposure to engage with mentors and investors throughout the program. So why join the BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio? Well, I suppose the slogan we use is building a business is hard, it's overwhelming, good advice is rare, invaluable, and very rarely free. So the BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio has a very good success rate, and so has a very good success rate for previous participants. Since the first program in 2018, participants have gone on to raise over $13 million and created more than 130 Irish jobs. So the type of focus areas we are looking for on these programs. So I describe it, the three pillars that we want is the idea novel? Is it sustainable? And does it solve a problem somewhere on the global aquaculture supply chain? And what I mean by that is anywhere from farm to plate. So as you can see, there's a lot of categories up here that you wouldn't associate traditionally with aquaculture. So previously we've had people come on to, I would say 50% of the people that come onto the programs have no previous experience with aquaculture or even the marine space. They're engineers, they're IT, software developers. So we've had people come onto the program, geneticists with new vaccines, new novel diagnostics techniques, engineers and IT and software developers come on developing software, farm hardware, feed specialists who've come on with novel feed ingredients, new types of proteins, right down to stuff you really wouldn't associate with the marine space, such as financial services and insurance. So again, just to reiterate, if it's novel, if it's sustainable, and it solves a problem somewhere on the global aquaculture supply chain. And that's also why we tend to use, leads on from Damien's presentation, why we use the word Aquatech, because we're more so looking for the technology to aid aquaculture. So I'm just going to give two case studies. Now Damien spoke about Wellfish Diagnostics and the work that Brian Quinn is doing, so I won't go too much into that. But Brian took part in our 2020 program. And it's a good example of how Brian came from the research world. He was a professor in the University of West Scotland and a geneticist, and he saw a gap in Aquatech. So he's come in from that with his rapid fish health assessment practices, and through the BIM and Hatch network, he's now doing a lot of work with Irish aquaculture companies. So Brian is a good success story of someone who spun out in, I think, September last year and is doing very well. Another example is Alloon. So Alloon was on our first program, and they're a really good example because these guys, they came from a financial background. So what their business model was in Asia, in the global shrimp, in most regions of the world where shrimp takes place, but these guys focused on Asia. It's very hard for these farmers to expand their business or grow their business because it's normally a micro business where they might have 1 or 2 ponds, and it's high risk. So if they lose that crop, they lose their income for their family for that year. So naturally they want to expand their business, but to get loans and lending for such a high risk activity was very difficult. So what Alloon have done is they've developed a standard operating procedure using the best practices and technology available for these shrimp farmers. And if these farmers abide by the Alloon standard, they receive the Alloon accredited cert, or the tick, as you will, that they're doing everything in their power to make this the most successful venture. And they have agreements with lending providers that these farmers can then go to the lending providers and expand their business. So that's a good example of 2 companies, one from the genetics and research world and one from the financial services world, that have entered the aquatech space. So what I would say is, if I Niall Ratty, and my email is niall@hatch.blue. The BIM Aquatech Innovation Studio is happening in July this year. 2 to 3 days a week, and closing for applications is June this year. So you can apply on hatch.blue, but please reach out to me if you want to have a chat further. So I'm going to hand you over to Jamie now from the Marine Institute.
So yeah, I'm going to just take us through the Marine Institute Aquaculture section, just talk through some of the research that we're conducting and also the infrastructure that we have in place that supports this research. So one part of the Marine Institute is the Newport Hatchery, and this has been in operation since 1958 as a fish trapping facility where all outgoing and returning fish from the furnace system were recorded movements up and downstream. There's also a comprehensive range of freshwater salmonid rearing facilities, which include collection and holding of broodstock, egg incubation with 2 isolated hatcheries and both indoor and outdoor rearing ponds. In 2020, part of the hatchery was upgraded into a new recirculating aquaculture system. And the RAS system consists of 8 5.5 meter cube tanks with water treatment facility, including drum filter, biotower degassing, UV filtration, and oxygen cone. Further to the infrastructure here, we have an aquaculture research site in Lehnapool, in species marine research site dedicated to aquaculture, new species research and development. And the aim of this infrastructure is to support the Irish aquaculture sector to become more circular, sustainable, and increasing productivity. At the site here, we conduct variations of IMTA, integrated multi-trophic aquaculture research, and also have the facilities for the installation, testing, and validation of cameras, multi-sensing equipment, and monitoring and management systems. Additionally, just in the last year, we've also a purpose-built grid for low trophic species. So this is for the integration of the multi-trophic system. And this is co-located less than 10 meters from the nearest salmon pen. And this is placed in an area that has been modeled to be downstream of the nutrient plume. And what integrated multi-trophic aquaculture is you have a fed species that's in Ireland, it's mainly salmon, where you have feed input, nutrient input into a system. And then downstream of this, you have your extractive species. These are generally filter feeding animals, such as scallops, oysters, mussels, but also this includes seaweed. So there's a couple of reasons for this type of production. It removes nutrients that would generally go to waste and are put into are collected and used to grow a more valuable species. And this changes monoculture farming to multi-species. So some of the species that we have on site and grown in a number of projects, we have seaweed such as kelp and dulse. And from the research that we've conducted here and from the Lehnapool side, we've seen that seaweed is capable of offsetting about 17% of nutrients that are produced from the fed species. Another project that we have ongoing is including benthic scavengers in these systems, such as sea cucumbers, and these are used for bioremediation of the seabed. These sea cucumbers feed on the waste on the seabed, and then they're also produced and can become a valuable product in their own right. Other species we have then is sea urchins, which are fed on seaweed that's grown on the site and transferred. And these are a valuable product generally for the sent to the Asian market. One of the projects that I'm mainly involved in is Samson Smolt. So this is looking at Atlantic salmon production in freshwater wrasse. This is recirculation aquaculture systems. And the aim of the project is developing Ireland's first recirculating aquaculture system for Atlantic salmon smolts. And this is looking at the performance of wrasse with regards to water quality, usage, energy usage, and applying it to the Irish industry. The idea of this is hopefully to utilise the potential benefits of wrasse to increase the overall size of salmon smolt, produce a more robust smolt prior to going to sea, and therefore increasing both the production capacity of hatcheries, but also of the seaside. What this can do is over a 36-month period where you would generally have just 2 production cycles in conventional production, it's reducing this the marine phase from about 18 months to 12 months, and therefore you're getting in the space where you have 2 production cycles, you're increasing this to be able to have and allow 3 months of production, or sorry, 3 production cycles in the same period where you have 2 production cycles in conventional. And just some of the results that we have here, just to show the efficiencies of these systems. From the wrasse system, from our last production cycle, we had an average weight of nearly 350 grams for one of our stocks, and the equivalent of this in freshwater was 110 grams. The feed conversion rate, which is a significant cost in salmon production, in the wrasse production, the feed conversion rate is 1.01, whereas in the flow through, it's 1.23. So this means for the amount of feed that you use in the wrasse production, if you put in 1.01 kilos of feed, if you put in 1 kilo of feed, if you put in 1.01 kilos of feed, you're getting out 1 kilo of salmon, whereas in the freshwater stock, if you put in 1.23 kilos of feed, you get 1 kilo of salmon. So it's already a 20% efficiency use of your feed. And then when we follow these to the sea site, to the marine, we saw that 5 months post-transfer, the fish had maintained their advantage that they gained in the freshwater production, which put them about 4 to 5 months ahead of the flow-through fish. So just some of the projects and some of the other work that we've supported through this project. Damien mentioned it earlier with regards to Aquamonitrix, TelLab, who came from a wastewater treatment background. They put one of their sensors into the hatchery with some really great results. The real-time monitoring capabilities of their sensor just showed daily variations in the level of nutrients. So as feed was put into the system from morning to evening, we saw the equivalent increase in nitrite levels gradually increase throughout the day and then drop off throughout the evening as the biotower within the system treated the water. This system has great potential for wrasse systems where you're working with fine margins with regards to feed input and particularly water quality and fish welfare. Other collaborations that we have ongoing is one which is far afield with CSIRO in Australia, and this is just a collaboration with regards to fish health, gill health and microbiota. And this project, we see the benefits again of the water treatment within the wrasse system, where epitheliocysts is a disease that can affect salmon gills, where we see this is less prevalent in the RAS system, where the water is constantly being treated, than is seen in the flow-through. We also have a PhD student that is working to further get further value from the Samson Small project and the RAS, and Aideen Carney, who is working with NUIG on her PhD, looking at characterization of the smoltification process within the RAS system. And this again is looking to develop our knowledge with regards to RAS production, making it more efficient and looking after the welfare of the fish within the system. Another project then, moving on, this is more so with regards to IMTA. This is an Astral project, and this is a collaboration with a number of Atlantic partners, both north and south, and this is looking to develop new, sustainable and profitable value chains for integrated multi-trophic aquaculture. So this is developing these systems and knowledge transfer between countries in Northern Europe and North Atlantic, but also in Brazil, Argentina, and South Africa. So I spoke earlier about just a project that we actually have ongoing here with GMIT that's funded by Blue Bio. And this is in Evil, so this is increasing the value chain with regards to echinoderms. So this is using sea cucumbers, as I said, to feed on the waste that lands in the sediment, and then creating a value chain for an additional product, as well as your salmon. You have your sea cucumbers. Again, this would have been touched on earlier. Hydrofish is a project we have running with, is DTIF Enterprise Ireland funded. This is with NUIG, Biomarine Ingredients in Chagas, and this is looking at fish hydrolysis technology. So this is taking low value bycatch and processing waste from the fisheries industry, and it is turning it into high-value nutraceuticals. So this is essentially including this in feeds to have, that are known to have beneficial biological activities for immunostimulation and antioxidant properties. And this was conducted in Lenna Poolside, where we conducted the feed trials and all the sampling requirements for the project. So that is just a brief overview of what the Marine Institute Research Aquaculture Unit does, the research and also infrastructure. And as I say, if anyone has any questions, gladly get in touch on any aspect of the aquaculture research that we have. So I'll hand you back now to TelLab. And I think there's any questions and a Q&A.
Thanks very much, Jamie. So now I will open the Q&A to if there's any Q&A on the feed. I'm just going to look at some of the Q&A from the feed. We have a question here. The first question is, what are the business supports available for someone who wants to start a business within the marine sector? So I'm just wondering, do we have anybody in the audience today that would like to answer that? And maybe the speakers would like to come up and grab a chair, and you can sit down and we can go through some of the Q&A. We got some questions in as well via Twitter. Yeah, I'm sure it can. We can.
I guess some of the supports that New and Lamar would have is looking at feasibility studies, but and various other supports. But I suppose the first port of call would be to have a conversation with the likes of myself or with Damien in terms of the aquaculture side to really assess what are the business needs.
Yeah, I suppose traditionally BIM would have supported primary production, a range of grant schemes from the operation programme. In recent years, that kind of broadened out to include what we call the Knowledge Gateway Scheme, which allows students and staff from universities to apply for projects in conjunction with industry partners. That's proven very successful where projects are developed in collaboration between a wide variety of stakeholders, and that's really important. And we also have very close contacts with EI and obviously with UDROS, who provide very specific business supports. And then obviously through the Hatch program, we are, ostensibly offering a real mentoring service. And what's important to point out about the innovation studios is that the participant takes part. It doesn't end at the end of July. That service from Niall and his colleagues is ongoing, and we're in weekly, if not daily, contact with some of the previous participants and helping them develop their businesses. We know it's not a kind of click the fingers and it's done, an ongoing process. So there's a huge variety of supports out there. As Keena said, the first protocol is to get in contact with us.
Thanks very much. Anybody else? Okay. I noticed on one of your slides, Damien, you had Rory Casey from ZAPS. Rory Casey was a New Frontiers participant here in GMIT iHubs, and I just thought I'd give that a little plug because there will be applications open very soon in the next month. But I'm just wondering, I suppose you have a lot of, good Irish entrepreneurs that have gone through your hands, and same as yourself, Niall. I'm just wondering maybe if you want to talk a little bit, if you have any, stories in that space, maybe some startup stories of some of the types of firms or individuals that you've come through.
Yeah, there's so many. Rory, developing a technology, utilization, aquaculture. He's a new company, and he's been going strength to strength. Background, mentioned the New Frontiers program, like one of our past participants. There's a wide variety of companies. TelLab comes to mind as well, which is one of the participants last year, involved in developing additives from seaweed. So taking seaweed and extracting nutraceuticals, and their products are being sold to farmers to improve animal health. There's numerous examples developing products and services, really adding value. So what we would have seen in the seafood sector 10 years ago, primary production. We're seeing now, and I really outlined Iceland, is how can we utilize and create value from every part of that. That really feeds into the circular economy. Any waste in the seafood sector, being as sustainable as possible. These companies provide the products and services to our producers on the ground. Very, very good. I suppose that leads me on to a question here that came in from Norris. And you talked a lot about valorization of waste and stuff like that. And I suppose one of the questions that Norris has here is it's addressed to Jamie, and he just wants to know what are the links between research that Jamie outlined and the aquaculture here, the industry here in Ireland.
Well, I guess what we to the industry projects that we have go on. The Marine Institute and the research at the Marine Institute and sites there. Regards to other projects, then we have ongoing we set up. The grass is again developing technology with the industry. So, I mean, regards to other developments, was open to support any testing or work that could be applied to the industry on a smaller scale, and then support them. So any technology around.
I think there are some questions, just maybe you might have to speak up ever so slightly.
Oh, yeah.
That's okay. So I suppose just on to yourself, Cliona. The Park Namara development seems like a very extensive and I suppose exciting development. I'm just wondering what like supports will be available there on the ground, and what will the physical space look like for someone that may want to take space there once the park comes available?
Certainly. Well, I suppose first and foremost, there is a website there where you can have a look at, I suppose, montages and see what will be available. But as it's currently navigating through the planning process at the moment, it's just at a standstill, and that's where New Namara is coming in, that we can support companies that are looking to get started now and generate a pipeline of companies that will hopefully and eventually migrate onto the park. And the facilities are quite vast. You'll have a lot of, I suppose, aquaponics facilities. You have access to fresh marine water there. You have specific filtration, UV filtration system, and then in terms of the companies that are locating on the park, the facilities will be quite company specific, and it is really dealt with on a case by case basis as to the applicants that will be located on that park. But I say follow the website, have a link at or the link is parknamara.ie, and I suppose a clearer overview will be there. And following up on the question in terms of Marine Institute and linking to companies, Jamie mentioned the projects that he has ongoing. A lot of those projects would be open source, or some of them would be. So the research that the Marine Industry or the Marine Institute is conducting is open source and can be accessed by commercial entities or people looking to commercialise some of that research. So not only that, I suppose all of our state agencies are interconnected, and we would understand what work the Marine Institute are doing, the likes of BIM are doing, and we're happy to connect and have a great kind of inter-agency and inter-institute relationship and connect and redirect these companies to the relevant agencies.
Very good. Jamie, I just might ask you to just reiterate some of the key points that you mentioned there. I think some people had difficulty listening to you.
Yeah, that's no problem. I guess some of the links that we have with regards to research in the aqua industry here is you know, two examples that I had in the presentation. There was one with Hydrofish, a project working with, you know, nutrapharmaceuticals and feed ingredients, where the company was able to test their product on a small scale at the Marine Institute site, and also I guess the TelLab Aquamonitrix equipment that was, you know, mainly used in wastewater treatment, and then, you know, final the aquaculture deployment, and, you know, support and offering advice with regards to the aquaculture industry, where they hadn't had experience previously before. So there's some of the links, and just offering, you know, some of the sites there, that if there are any product sensors or anything, that the Marine Institute is open for anyone to come in and use the facilities that we would be available there to give a hand with.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I suppose if people are new to the sector and they want to follow maybe events that are taking place in the sector as well, a good website to check out would be the Marine Irish Industry Network website, the MIN network. And if you go online and just Google that, you'll be able to find it. It's managed by Blue Eyes Marine, one of the client companies here in the iHub. And I'm sure if you contact them as well, they'll be able to add you to their mailing list. And you can any of these types of talks, they would have a full database, and they'd have a full listing of these types of talks. So that would be a good reference points for people that I suppose just want to get a good general cross-section overview of what's going on within the industry itself. A question for, I suppose, for the triad here in terms of the business startup supports. I suppose my understanding from today's showcase will be, if I had an idea and I was thinking of going into this space, I suppose, Cliona, you'd be kind of nearly my first point to call. So if I needed to do some research or I wanted to take on an innovation voucher, I could engage then with NUI Galway or with the Marine and Freshwater Research Unit here in GMIT, and they could look and see how I could develop my idea, and then in terms of how that idea might be commercialized. And then I suppose from then I could look at going on one of the BIM innovation programs that are available, and then I could suppose get the supports, and I could look to see how this idea that I have, what type of a problem it can solve. I suppose what's the extent of the problem and the size of the market. And then I suppose, if depending on how that progressed, I could look at talking to Niall and maybe getting some supports and going on to some of their accelerator program. Is that kind of the step change that you can go? I suppose there's lots of different pathways you can take.
But also with my own role, with my role as the Ireland Aquaculture Community Manager, my role is to kind of link everyone together. So if anyone came through me, I would direct them, I would assess them by a case-to-case basis, and I work very closely with Damien and Cliona, and we would direct them either to BIM and UDROS, our Marine Institute, even if they need to test. So it's really a case-by-case basis.
Very good.
Yeah, I think it's a really important to point out that there are students, all the third level institutes in Ireland, that could provide solutions to the challenges that the sector is facing in food production. And it's a fantastic opportunity. We have some of the best students in the world in terms of their innovative skills, how they apply themselves, and particularly in institutes like here at GMIT, it's very applied research and commercialized. And we want to tap into that skill base. Certainly through the work that we're collectively doing together, it's really about trying to attract that talent within the industry. We need it. We need engineers, we need scientists to come up with innovative solutions, and we hope that today has offered a bit of a glimpse of what's available out there, and we hope to hear more from those people.
I suppose last weekend we had the event for the Planet event, and everybody here was either a mentor or a judge at the event, and I suppose that really gave you an insight into you don't have to be from the marine space, or you don't have to have I suppose a specialty within the marine space. Anybody, with some kind of a skill set can apply that set of skill set within the space. And I think from the weekender that we had, the startup weekend that we had last week, which was event for the Planet, it was a number of students came together and they kind of self-formed teams to address a number of environmental challenges that was just presented to them on a Friday evening, and they had 48 hours to come up with a solution. And it was really interesting just over the course of the weekend to watch how they work together. Different. There was biomedical students, there was a PLC student, there was a creative arts student that was studying contemporary art, and they were able to come up with a solution within the space. We had some programmers, so it was really interesting to see.
And we need those competencies from those different sectors. Yeah. It's not, any of these challenges are they're global challenges, and interestingly, as you mentioned that event, I think it was 97 teams globally, 27 of them picked digitalization of seafood as their challenge. So it shows the interest that's out there and the wide range of skills as you identified there that we need.
I think one of the things is actually linking some of these skills that would be from outside, I guess, the traditional sort of marine sector, and bringing them and making them actually aware of aquaculture. I think one of the things that you see, particularly, I guess, in agriculture, because it's such a long standing, is that has built up an awful lot of these technologies already, whereas I guess aquaculture in the grand scheme of things is it's a lot newer, and that technology hasn't quite transferred to that. And one of the things that makes you, I guess, aware of this is the likes of TelLab working in a space with wastewater and directly having that applicability of their technology to aquaculture, but I guess just not being aware of the space, and that's one thing is linking these areas that wouldn't traditionally have been in, or even aquaculture sector, and getting them aware of it. So I'm sure all of us here, you know, friends, family, you tell them what aquaculture is, and they don't actually know what it is, and that's the same for.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely from Hatch's point, that's why we're appealing to the engineers and the IT, that these are the problem solvers, and that's why the term Aquatech, I think, is more appropriate, because they are developing the technology to solve these problems that exist in aquaculture.
Very good. Okay, folks, I just see we're just ever so slightly run over at the time, so I'm just going to thank our audience today for tuning in and to listen to all the different various speakers. You can, if you want to contact the speakers, you can either contact myself, Turlock Rafferty at gmit.ie, or you can just Google each of the speakers. I'm sure you'll find them all on LinkedIn, and I'm sure they'll be happy to address any other questions that you have. A recording of the event will be available probably on Monday on YouTube, but if you tune into Seascapes on RT Radio 1 on Friday evening, we have a member of their staff, Mike McCarthy, come in this morning. So they're going to be talking to some of the speakers, and there'll be a short showcase of the event on Seascapes on Friday evening. So hopefully you can tune into that. So I'd just like to thank everybody. I wish everybody a nice day, and hopefully we'll see you all again soon in GMIT iHubs. Thank you very much, and thanks to the speakers. Thank you.